I am Erik Lindqvist. I'm the CEO of Netnod in Stockholm, who we run the internet exchanges and a lot of infrastructure services for around the world. We're non-for-profit, and I have used to do peering for one of the largest networks in the world before doing this. I think it's interesting that if you're looking back at the history of how the internet developed and matured in Europe, we will see that many regions of the world, from Africa to parts of Asia, are maybe going through some of the development cycles that Europe used to do. And I think there are lessons to be learned in how Europe evolved. Taking Europe as an example because I know it the best, and because it's a fragmented region with many countries, very much like these other regions. And if you look at those development cycles, what were the factors that drove development, that drove innovation? My theory is that the interconnects between the operators, and especially that was enabled by the deregulation of the markets, helped foster a lot of this innovation, helped foster a lot of growth, drove broadband prices down, and drove build out of broadband. And if you look at this, I think we can copy and see very much the same movements happening in other parts of the world today. And I think that the lessons we learned are easily applied to the countries today. Everybody likes to think that they are different, but they're not that different. They're all in this very much same situation as Europe was in the mid-90s. And I think that even Europe can learn from the lessons of the 90s to where we are today. We have very much the same challenges today, but instead of looking at how do we do interconnects in one point in a country, in a few places in Europe, we're now looking at doing interconnects and broadband build-outs in many, many places all around Europe, all around the world, to handle the growth of online video, online TV, and things like Netflix and streaming TV, etc. And I think those lessons are there, and we can copy a lot of what's learned in Europe to other parts of the world, and also learn in the developing world. And I think history is repeating itself. I think that the most important thing that happened in Europe was the deregulation of the markets, and the fact that no one required a license or any regulatory or government intervention was actually done. That was the single most important thing that drove the development and created a fierce competition, a massive build-out, the will to invest, and that drove broadband prices down, the number of subscribers went up, and that infrastructure being in place led to the development of services and innovation. And I think that is the most intriguing thing about all of this. And I think what we're seeing is people trying to protect their markets, thinking that, oh, otherwise, we are different, we had to protect the markets. No, you don't. We Europeans, looking back at this, and the way we remember it was really easy. It happened overnight, and there was no pain. I don't think it was that easy, and it didn't happen overnight. It was a long, hard process. Of course, Europe went down a lot of rat holes, and I think that's unavoidable. We had some very strange legislation. We had some very strange interventions by the regulators. And again, I think those were all mistakes. And so when we say that this was very happy and fast in Europe, it wasn't. This was a prolonged pain over many years as well, just like we're seeing in other regions. It's very hard to say if they will or won't. I think we're a little bit in a balancing act in many parts of the world, in many countries, where there's a drive to wanting to catch up overnight with the Western countries of the developing world. And that's very hard to do unless you allow for foreign investments, allow for things to happen. But there's, maybe, I think that maybe the will to catch up is going to overtake some protectionist tendencies. I hope so. Just open up the market and let the market handle it. They will do. It's not that scary, actually.